Well, unless you're a real Atari ST aficionado and you have an actual system, an actual printer that works with it, you really can't get anything out of it as far as print. So what do you do if you have a modern printer like the HP series? How do you get some of your old work or even new work out into a file format that you can print, or at least view as a PDF? Well, never fear, it can be done. I use a Steam emulator, but it can be done for the Atari as well. And really what you have to do is set up your drivers in your Atari system to print to a PCL format. We'll take a look at how to do that right now. Now in the Steam emulator, there's a gear icon in the top right, which will get you to your settings. And within that, you'll see the I/O port setting. And within that, the first part you'll see is the parallel port. And we're going to change it from parallel port to the file output. Then we're going to say where the file is. To do that, we're going to click on the drop down here and we're going to choose file output. You immediately should see a box there saying where it's currently at. We're going to click on change file and it should open up a dialog box. And if you scroll down, and there might be a file already there like it is here, or you can just type in a new one here. The same thing is true for Hatari, it's just that it has a different configuration. You press the F12 key and you come over here to devices and you'll see a list of things over there, including the print emulation right there in the setting for where your file is at. Now, I'm not going to talk about controlling the ST's fonts and drivers for various output devices. If you don't have a basic understanding of that, I have my own video, and there's several others out there explaining how to set up GDOS. But to clarify it here, I use G+ for almost any publishing software that I use. Its best feature is its ability to load different configuration files that select the proper fonts and device drivers for that application. Now that's the easy part. Now we're going to have to go back to the ST and make sure that the printer drivers that it's using are the ones for a PCL printer, usually for a LaserJet printer. But if we can get a PCL output, we're going to use a converter later to actually produce a file that is readable in modern computers. Now you can see here, no matter where your sys file is, you have to have a driver that's compatible. It could be named LaserJet Sys or PCL Sys. And if we look at that from within the Atari system, if we go to the GEMSYS directory, we should see all the fonts and drivers that you need to have for that particular application. And just as a quick reminder, you can have as many as you want in there because it does not load anything until it reads your assigned sys file. If we go back and look at that, here's where you say which fonts are loaded for your screen and which fonts are loaded for the printer driver. So now, assuming all that's done, we're going to go ahead and run the application to see how it affects the output. So now I'm going to launch the emulator from within Windows, or do it from whatever particular operating system you're running, and whichever emulator. But once I get up and the Atari is up and running, I'm going to go ahead and launch my graphics program. In this case, it's going to be EasyDraw. And you'll see EasyDraw come up, and I now have the fonts loaded that I'm going to use. I'm actually going to load up some old files back from when I was in the military. Now, EasyDraw is a little different than a lot of programs, but once you have your image up and everything, you want to print it, you have to use your utility to print it out. And you just simply go over here to the File menu, and you click on Outprint down here, and it prompts you to save and blah, blah, blah. And then it comes up, and there it is, and you can choose where you want it to go. Now, back in the day, you could print out to any one of these devices as long as they had drivers for them. In this case, we're going to do the printer, and we're going to just click on OK, and the EasyDraw will start generating the image. Now, once it's going, it takes quite a long time, so I use the fast forward button on Steam to speed things up, and then eventually we'll finish. The little B will go away, and we'll have a file printed out to that file. And at that point, we're done with the ST. So I can close down the emulation and do all that and quit back out because I have that PRN file that I'm going to now use a different utility to print. Now, technically, I could just shut down the emulator, but here I'm backing out cleanly out of EasyDraw. So we can go off to print it. Now, the first thing you might want to do is go to your system and check the file that you created. that the emulator wrote. So I'm going to go here to my emulator and to the STeam emulator, and I'm going to find the current version I'm working with. And down here, you'll see there's a printer.txt file. Now, it can be named anything, but that's the what I named it in my emulator to write to. And that's where it's waiting to be converted. So now I'm navigating to the directory where I've downloaded this program, Word PCL, to PDF. And I'm going to go ahead and run it, and then go select that file I just created. Now, when you do this, if it's not named correctly or it analyzes it, it says it's not a standard PCL, go ahead and say yes anyways, because it's going to go ahead and convert it. Now, it just abruptly terminates, so now all you have to do is go navigate back to where the file is supposed to be. So if we go back up to your Steam directory, in this particular case, because that's where you had Steam configured, you go there, and you find your Steam. In this case, I have several versions. But in my active version, you'll see that I have a printer.txt.pdf now. And now that I have a PDF format, I treat it like any other PDF. I simply click on it. The browser opens, and there's your file. And you can treat it like any other PDF. You can rotate this, like certain pages, do whatever you want for that PDF. Now, here it is rotated. You notice, by the way, that the fonts don't match what you saw on the screens because I didn't perfectly match the screen fonts and the printer fonts, and that's what you have to make sure so that your output will match what you're expecting. And by the way, just for good measure, for another example, here's a copy of the Enterprise that I did on EasyDraw as well. Now, here's another example. This is what GEM programs or any other programs at that time were famous for, being able to do graphical output rather than just writing a text file with a typewriter. So I'm going to launch a first word here, and this is where I have it installed. I have a first word sys file, and I have everything for load the fonts up. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, run my program, and there's the first word that comes up. So I'm just going to navigate to where my documents are and everything. I have a lot of stuff in here, but I'm going to first word, okay, to my docs directory, and there's a test document I had from a few years ago. I don't remember when. I click on that and say, okay, it comes up. And I can go ahead and highlight these images or text and create the different font sizes, light, dark, bold, italic, all the things I want to do in preparation for my output. Now, I'm not going to bore you with making a document, larger fonts and things like that, bold and all that. But once you have your document already with bold, italics, whatever, and you're ready to print, you just go to the print menu here. You have two choices. One is to print the current one you're working on, or print one from the file menu, which will give you a chance to do that. Now, here it is again when I brought up another file that has an image of a tiger already in it. So in order to print this and the text below it, I'm going to go up here to the file menu and say print current, the one that's in memory right now. So let's go ahead and do that. A small note while you're in Word, you won't see this graph unless you're already in graphics mode, but you have to be there in order to do this. Now here I've closed the file, but you notice here that the printer installed is an FX. It's not a LaserJet, so it's not going to work. So you don't make the mistake that I did. Make sure this is installed correctly. So if you don't have it installed correctly, you're going to have a very long garbage file come out instead. But never fear, you can change the setup right here by going to that line where it tells you what the printer is and just click on it and to install the other printer. And when you click on it, it'll bring up a dialog box and you'll go to the directory, hopefully, or you can find it. It has all the different kind of printers you have on your system. Now, at this point, I don't even have it because it doesn't have a laser printer here. I had to go find the correct driver. Now, here it is later when I have a LaserJet installed, so I should be able to go here. I just added it to my list here in the configuration directory. Now, with that selected, I can go back now and go ahead and load up this file I want to print. And I can open it up like this. So we're saying, print or print current. And at this point, I didn't have the tiger. So I'm going to go ahead and read the picture, tiger.img, and load it up. And we should see it here come up. But we don't. The reason being is that you have to go over to the graphics menu up top and turn on graphics. So there's graphics mode, and boom, there's the tiger. Now, if I go up to the menu and go ahead and click on print, I can say print current, and I'm going to say near letter quality, but shouldn't make any difference. And we'll go ahead and print it up. It takes an extraordinary long amount of time to finish this, and that's why I use the accelerate feature in the STeam emulator. Now you can go in the program and check the status by looking there, and there'll be a check box next to the printing, and you can click on it and stop it and pause it and do whatever you want, but it takes a long time. We're not going to look at Calamus, one of the premier desktop publishing programs, and one that lasted a very long time, past the Atari. In fact, it seemed to have lasted all the way to 2015, and they're still trying to charge for it today. But now we're going to go into Calamus, and we're going to go ahead and load a document and print it. And to do that, we go here to Load Document, and we select whatever document we want, or create a new one. So we have a new document, and we want to be able to print it, and we go to, of course, Print Document. But you'll notice when the module comes up, there is no driver loaded. So guess what? I click on Load Driver, and then I'm going to look around, and sure enough, there's a printers directory with all the directories for different types of printers. And I know that there's an HP, of course, so I'm going to use HP. And there's all the different ones. Those are a lot of DeskJets, if you guys remember. But here's a LaserJet 3. This is exactly what we want to use. Now that I have my printer set up, I can go and work on the document. And I can change whatever settings here for portrait, landscape, and all that. But once I'm all set up, I can just click on Exit and start working on my document. Well, instead of doing that, I'm going to load up an old document. So I'm going to go up here to the File menu, say Load Document, and here's a sample document in the document directory. So I click on this, and it's loading it up. And eventually, it'll show up. And by the way, just like other programs, if it doesn't find the fonts that are in the file, you don't have them loaded, it's going to ask you to change font. So I go in here and I select a different font and say OK, and keeps going to do different ones until I get the right ones and I get it all set up to where it'll render the document. Now, once it has all that, then it goes ahead and shows the document. Now, this document is about colors, so it's not going to do us much good on a black and white printer, but just for demonstration purposes, we're going to use it. So now that I have it, I go up to the File menu, and I select Print. I come down here and find Print Document. Here's all the different settings. We do have the right laser printer set up and scaling and all that. I'm just going to go ahead and click on Print because it's all set up for automatic. Now, Calamus first will generate it in memory. You'll see the frames here being done. Eventually, once it's ready, it'll start spooling it to the output. So we're about there, and there we go. And it'll tell us that it's printing. So now I can either just get out of Calamus, or I can just shut down the emulator completely. And again, because of a quirk in STeam, the spooling doesn't finish until it's shut down. So let's go take a look at it after we closed it down. Just as a visual demonstration, we're going to go take a look at the printer.txt file. Here it is under STeam. And you'll notice that it's got 0 bytes. So in order to release it from the program, from STeam, I'm going to go up here. I'm just going to click on closing down STeam. And you'll see down below, it refreshes immediately. And now we have the printer.txt is a pretty large file. Now, this may be a quirk on my system. You may not have this problem. It may have something to do with disk caching. I'm not completely sure. But you should see a size for that file. So now we're going to go ahead and do the thing where we launch the conversion program. And then we're going to go ahead and go find the text file right here, ready to go. We click on it. And then we get a couple of warnings. One, to overwrite it because I still already had a printer.pdf file. Then once I say OK for that, it's going to give me another error saying it doesn't appear to be a PRN or PCL file. And I'm going to say, go ahead and do it anyways. And also, just like before, then we go navigate back to the STeam directory where I have the output file at. So I'm going to go to my emulators directory. I'm going to go to STeam and my current version, which is the active version I'm using right now. And there's the PDF file, pretty large file. Bring it up. Look, here's the Calamus file, which talks about different colors, which on black and white is hilarious. But you should get the idea that we can print from Calamus. Now, because I like to beat things to death, we're going to do it for Works as well. So I'm going to fire up Works, and it's Atari Works. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to say open a word processor file. I'm going to find one of them. So in the Works directory down here, here's a nice calendar that was done years ago, 1994. And we're going to load it up. And again, because I didn't have the fonts in the assigned sys file that were inside of the document, it gives it the ability to replace it. So it's saying it's looking for that. I must say replace all with this one particular font, and it'll go ahead and update the document so that we can go ahead and work on it, or at least view it. And there it is. And as we scroll down, you'll see that all the months are here in the calendar. It's a pretty big document. And really quickly here in Works, I'm just going to change the size of the window so we can see a little bit more and get it ready. So let's go ahead and print this thing. Just like the other programs, we're going to go find the print menu. And when we do that, by the way, it's going to prompt us in case something's not right. So let's go here to print and see what it says. It says current printer driver is 21. What the hell is that? Well, I can check on it easily since I'm using the G Plus accessory. If I click on this G Plus accessory, and there's the assign for the Works program that I set up. And you have to make sure that the printer driver and fonts and all that are there. In an attempt to make it clear rather than using the accessory, I'm going to my hard drive directly on my system, and I'm going to look up the assigned sys file that we talked about. I'm going to open it up, and there it is in Notepad. Even though it says that it's commented out, but if you look down here for the correct printer, and you have to go, and there it is, the LaserJet sys file is there. And it is, in fact, the 21 that they refer to. So it is a LaserJet printer that I have set up. I can go ahead and try to print this thing. As with most systems, it has a couple options I can do during the printing process. So if I go ahead here and say print file, I can just choose that, the printer and all that. But here's what's important. This is a 10-page document, and in this emulator, that would take forever. So I'm going to just go ahead and print one page for right now. Trust me, you don't want to print on all 10. So all we have to do is click on OK, and it'll give us a status box what's going on. And again, you can cancel it and all that, but we're going to sit there and watch it go, at least for a while. But again, I'm going to use the speed button up here in the top left corner to make this emulation run super fast and get a chance to get this document done in a reasonable amount of time. And we should see it finish here. Yep, there it goes. So let's now go look at the output file. Again, I want to shut down the emulator first so it releases the file. And once that's closed down, I'm going to navigate over to the directory where the utility is. So I'm going to my retro and Atari directory, 16-bit. I'm going to go to emulators, and then the current version of Steam that I'm using, which is my quote-unquote active version. And sure enough, there's the printer file, pretty big file. So we know we successfully printed something. Now that we got that, we're going to go to where, Word PCL converter, and then run that. Select the correct one. Well, let's go here, and then printer.txt file under Steam. There it is. Click on that. We get the usual warning about it not looking like it's a PCL file. And then we should go be able to find our completed PDF. And sure enough, when we navigate over here to my Steam directory, there's the printer.pdf, pretty big file, and we should open it up. Sure enough, there's a calendar that we created. And you probably noticed I was only going to do one page, but this is from another test where I did all the pages and not just one. So here it is. I'm repeating the process, showing it that I did restrict it to one page. I run the program. I go find it. It's a much smaller document. I click on it, and we end up with the error message as usual. And we end up with a PDF. And the PDF is what we would want. And that's the document with only one. So we click on that, and we end up with the January calendar. You'll notice also, by the way, that the fonts are not quite right on this one. Spacing for the dates, for example, is a little bit funky. But depending upon how much effort you want to put into it to get those documents back, you can fine-tune them so they're perfect. So whether you have some old word processing files, some desktop publishing files, or even some graphical image files, you can realistically recover some of that old work and print them out to your printer. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and hit the reminder bell to be notified of any new videos. Additionally, you can find me on Reddit, Facebook, X, or on my website. The links are in the description of this video.